Hi, my name is Gabe Arnold. I'm the founder and CEO of Business Marketing Engine. And all this week, we've been talking about content marketing. And today, what we're going to talk about is how you can create more powerful content marketing content in less time. So I'm going to break down the process I use. I'm going to share the lessons I've learned over the many years of creating content on almost a daily basis, probably for 4 or 5 years now, if not longer. I'm going to share with you what I do so you can do the same thing and you can really grow your impact, grow your brand, and ultimately attract the customers that you want into your business. So stay tuned, and I'm going to share all this with you. One of my new friends and partners that I've been working with recently, named Anthony Aramini, he started using this phrase with me over the past month or so that really stuck with me. And I want to share it with you because it's going to apply to what we're talking about today as it relates to creating powerful marketing content that's going to, really move you forward. And so he always mentions this to me as we're working through elevating our sales process, really serving our prospects and customers at a higher level. He said this a few times and it made me really stop and think. He said, yeah, like context shifting is hard. I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, well, it's difficult to go from one thing to the next thing, to the next thing, to the next thing, to the next thing in succession and really show up with focus and poise and drive and energy. And he brought that up because in the role that I'm in the company right now, I do a lot of sales. I do a lot of content marketing. I lead the team. I have a lot of different roles, which I love. But he brought it up because I've started to realize that when I'm not intentional about how I structure my day and my time and my focus and energy, that I can very quickly get burned out and not show up as my best self. I noticed this about 6 months ago. I think it's been 6 months or maybe 8 months now. I noticed this like around episode 100, maybe even 150 on this show. And now today is episode 313. So thanks for being here. It's so much fun. But I noticed this when I was trying to show up and actually record or stream and record the show live every single day for 10, 15 minutes. And at first it was good to get in the habit. It kind of got me into the process, but pretty quickly, I felt just a lot of stress and pressure and strain of trying to like show up and deliver value and really serve you well, and then move on to the next thing. And sometimes I would have a meeting before I would stream live and then a meeting after. And so I'd be like, you're going to be switching focus. And it was hard for me to show up and really give my best work and really serve you well. So when I realized that, I said, you know what, I'm going to trust this and just see how it works. I'm going to batch record all of my podcast episodes in a couple hours in one day. And at first that was a little bit of a challenge because it was, again, shifting context and focus. But once I got into the habit of doing it on a weekly basis, it became a lot easier to really show up and be focused and have the energy and really have my heart's intention to show up and serve well in creating this content, in creating ideas and resources and tools and strategies that can help move your business forward. And so my first recommendation is when you're creating content is to batch the content that you create whenever possible. There's probably times where we can't do that, but when possible, batch your content because it gives you a longer time window to do the same thing over and over. So if you send an email out twice a week, you could sit down for the month and write the majority of your emails, and then you're all set. Sometimes when I've thought about doing this in the past, or when I've talked clients through this process, when we help them create it, when they're part of the process, when they're giving direction, sometimes they say, well, I don't want to be too structured or too like stale by planning ahead. And I say, that's a really valid and important concern. And the benefit of batching out everything at once is you have a predefined structure. And if something newsworthy or noteworthy or changes, you can drop in and do a quick piece of content and still address that and be relevant and timely, and then fall right back into your normal scheduled plan. And instead of actually making the content feel stale, I've actually seen that the consistency of the content, the themes that people put in, the direction that they're taking their audience, their community, their clients, the way they're serving them is way more consistent. It's way more effective. It's way more, there's way more continuity to it. So the first thing that you can do in creating more powerful content is actually block out the time to do it and plan ahead and batch. When we haven't done this before, it takes some practice. It takes some commitment to ourselves. And sometimes I get accountability for this. I would never be able to put this show out if our video producer, who is amazing and I love working with, KC, wasn't right here in the background making sure that I showed up to do my job. So sometimes what we do for our clients is set up their recording times, handle all the technical, all the production, and all they have to do is show up and talk about what they're an expert in. Other times you may want to get an assistant to help you. You may want to just get an accountability partner to hold you accountable. But however you make that leap and make that change, get the support you need to batch and time block out, times during your week or month so that you can really zone in and focus instead of doing what, Anthony really shared with me and opened my eyes to, of that context switching, changing focus. We lose a lot of energy. We lose a lot of time when we do it that way. So step one to create powerful content is time block and batch your content. The second thing to do is create a consistent structure that you use. So if you go back to earlier episodes, a lot of the episodes that I ran earlier, especially when I was streaming it live, is I just said, I always had 3 points, 3 things, and I'd write down my 3 notes that I wanted to talk through. And that was a really, really overly simplified process, but it helped me stay on track and helped me open the show, share the value, and close the show. So when you're creating content, whether it's video content or written content or whatever structure you're using or whatever medium you're using, create a framework that you can be consistent in, generally speaking. And of course, you can bend or change based on the content or the need, in that time, but always have a fallback plan so that you don't feel like you have to come up with a new creative process, a new way every time, because that will burn you out creatively so fast. As compared to the process that I use and that I teach our clients inside of the mastermind that we have, the Best Marketing Mastermind, I help them create a structure that they can use over and over so that it's not hard to create content and you can actually just collect ideas, which we're going to talk a little bit on the show tomorrow, but collect ideas and implement them without the, heavy lifting mentally and energetically of like, man, how am I going to structure this? Create a structure that you follow exactly sometimes or roughly in some cases, but create a flow and process and a structure so that when you're creating content, it's easier. I know that these are kind of concepts and a little bit broader, but my intention today was just to give you some ideas of how I create content, how you can apply the same process to your business, and how, with consistency over time, you can build an audience that reaches out to you, that connects with you, that enjoys your content. I made the commitment to stick with this show, even when it was hard, even when I didn't feel like it, even on days when I felt a little burned out, even on days like today, where I'm recording the show that I want to share with you. I only got 5 hours of sleep last night, but I was like, you know what? I'm going to show up. I'm going to give it my all. And the reason for that is when we're consistent over time, we build trust, we build results. People rely on us and they get to the point where they trust us and they're ready to reach out. That is why we do content marketing. And what I can say is I've started to track the results from the show, and it started very humbly, and we're still growing and still, have a lot ahead of us, which is so exciting. But I've been able to look back and say, you know what, this show is $1,000 an hour activity for our business. It generates good leads. It generates results. It brings in the right people we want to serve. So I'm going to stick with it, keep improving, keep optimizing, and keep learning new processes and tools that I can not only apply here, but I can share and teach with you. So I hope this has been helpful in helping you think through how to create more powerful content and also how to do it in less time when you have a strategy. You batch your content. You create a structure to use. You take some steps that's going to lower some of the stress of creating content because it is stressful to try to be creative on the fly all the time. Hopefully this has been helpful for you. If you need help with your content marketing, if you want to grow your brand and attract your ideal customer and create a process and a structure and a framework that is easy to replicate over and over and builds results over time, please reach out to us. You can comment down below. You can message me. You can head over to businessmarketingengine.com. Whatever is easy for you, we're here to serve you. I'd love to have a conversation and just give you some ideas and pointers. If it makes sense to work together, that's awesome. If you just need some inspiration and input, I would be happy to have that conversation with you. I appreciate you taking time to tune in today, and I look forward to seeing you on tomorrow's episode.